The head of gold was Babylon. The two arms in the chest were Medo and Persia, two nations in one. That's why the two arms represent Medo Persia. And then after that there was bronze, which was Greece, and then the two legs of iron representing Rome, the western and eastern empires of Rome. And then an important thing to note is that the feet were iron mixed with clay. And then 10 toes as well that obviously had iron and clay in them. So some have said that the 10 toes represent the nations of Europe that that the Roman Empire disintegrated into, but that's not correct. It's talking about the New World Order, because if you note that this in the feet and in the toes there's still elements of iron. So the iron represents Rome, and we know that Rome basically changed and became the Roman Catholic Church. So that's what it's talking about. The reason why it's iron mixed with clay is because some nations will be strong and some will be weak. So maybe let me just read verse 44, Daniel chapter 2 verse 44. And it says, in the days of these kings, the days of the 10 toes on the statue, shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. So Rome will continue to rule the world until the second coming of Christ. This is not talking about Europe. God is concerned about the whole world, not just Europe. I mean, to say that the 10 toes represent Europe is a very Eurocentric interpretation of Scripture, and I've covered that in one of my other videos. So that I just wanted to show proof that even the Holy Scriptures tell us about what kingdoms are going to rule and which kingdom is ruling on the earth. So for those who want to read further, there's also Daniel chapter 7 verses 1 to 8, where we see 4 beasts that come out of the sea. And then Daniel chapter 7 verses 17 to 26 also talks about that. And the 4 beasts mentioned in chapter 7 are a lion with eagle's wings, and then a bear that was hunched up on one side. Represent the lion with eagle's wings represents Babylon, because even when I went to Iraq with the British Army, after my tour of Iraq, which is what we called the time that we spent in Iraq was called a tour. I was there for 6 months, and because of that, I was given a medal. And guess what was on one side of the medal? There was a lion with eagle's wings, showing that Babylon, because Iraq is where Babylon used to be. That was like the center of Babylon. So Babylon is represented by a lion with eagle's wings. Like I said, that was on the medal that I got for my tour in Iraq. So after that, there's like I said, a bear that was hunched up on one side, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth. That represented Medo Persia. And then after that, there was a leopard with wings as well, which represented Greece, the Empire of Greece. And then after that, there was a beast that Daniel could not describe, other than to describe its characteristics, but it was not an animal that he could name, and that represented Rome. And Rome basically was divided into 10 kingdoms. Those 10 kingdoms were then three of them were destroyed, and those 3 that were destroyed were the Heruli, the Vandals, and the Ostrogoths. So those 3 actually don't exist anymore. So the 10 toes on the statue are not talking about are not talking about Europe, because we know that the Heruli and the Vandals and the Ostrogoths were destroyed. But the interesting thing is that out of those 10 horns that were on that beast representing Rome, as the papacy was coming up, it uprooted 3 of the kingdoms. And the reason why those 3 kingdoms were destroyed was because the papacy basically sent armies to destroy them. That's why they were uprooted. They don't actually exist anymore. So I just want to go to Revelation 17 and read you something from there. Yeah, so I just want to read Revelation 17 verses 1 to 6. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show you that God actually names the papacy, or talks about the papacy. not by using the word papacy or Roman Catholic Church or Vatican, but he gives the attributes of this church. Remember, I said that Satan has a girlfriend here on this earth. So God is giving us the characteristics or the attributes of Satan's girlfriend. So verse 1, it says, "And there came one of the angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore." Remember that a woman in prophecy is a church. Now, it can be a good church, such as we see in Revelation chapter 12, but in this case, in Revelation chapter 17, it's talking about a bad church. It says that the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Now, the waters represent people. It represents an area of the world that has large populations, and we find that how we know that is because in Revelation 17 verse 15 it says, "And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues." Going back to Revelation 17 verse 2, it says, "With that great whore," it says, "with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication." Now, it's not talking about literal fornication, it's talking about spiritual fornication. It says, "And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication." So the inhabitants of the world are basically drunk on the propaganda of the papacy. Remember that the papacy controls the media as well, and they claim that it is their birthright to own all forms of media. Verse 3, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast." Remember, once again, a woman in prophecy is a church. It says, "Full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns." And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color. So scarlet is red. And these are the colors of the Catholic Church. If you look at what the bishops and the cardinals, what they wear, these are the colors that they wear. And it says, "And decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication." So we know that the Catholic Church is the richest institution in the world. Verse 5, "And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth." So in one of my other videos, I spoke about and also read from a book called Two Babylons, The Two Babylons by Alexander Hislop, where I explained that when he talks of the two Babylons, he's talking about Babylon, the literal geographic kingdom or empire, but then the spiritual Babylon, which is the papacy. It says here that Babylon is the mother of harlots. Remember why she's called the mother of harlots, because there are many churches that have come out of her. The Lutherans, the Calvinists, and many other churches.
Your Holiness, may I present Archbishop Kayang Barsamian, Primate of the Eastern Diocese of the Armenian Church in America.
According to ecumenical protocol, the Eastern Orthodox would be first in order, as they are, of course, first in priority in the Catholic Church's ecumenical responsibility.
May I present Archbishop Yichen Akachi, the legate and ecumenical officer of the Eastern Diocese of the Armenian Church in America and president of the National Council of Churches in the United States. Holiness, may I present Reverend Dr. Donald McCoy, representing the presiding Bishop Mark Hansen of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. Holiness, may I present Bishop Jeremiah J. Park, Bishop of the New York Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. Your Holiness, may I present Reverend Wesley Granberg Michelson, the General Secretary of the Reformed Church in America. Your Holiness, may I present Reverend Dr. Clifton Kirkpatrick, the stated clerk of the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church in the United States. Your Holiness, may I present Reverend Dr. William J. Shaw, President of the National Baptist Convention, United States. Your Holiness, may I present Bishop James Leggett, General Superintendent of the International Pentecost Holiness Church. Your Holiness, may I present Dr. Leith Anderson, President of the National Association of Evangelicals. Your Holiness, may I present Bishop David H. Benke, President of the Atlantic District of the Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod. Your Holiness, may I present Reverend Dr. A.R. Bernard Sr., President of the Council of Churches of the City of New York. Your Holiness, may I present Elder Bernice King, daughter of the civil rights leaders Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King. Your Holiness, may I present Reverend Jimmy Song Ji Lim, Executive Director of the Council of Churches of the City of New York. Your Holiness, may I present the Right Reverend Mark Sisk, Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of New York.